Hey, this is Steve Bloom, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Today on Weekend at the Movies, we try to sort out all the Ghostbusters information, we discuss what's next in the wonderful world of Disney, we try to figure out what the title of the new Star Wars spinoff could mean for the film, and we give our thoughts on one prolific action star apparently calling it quits. All that and more coming up on Weekend at the Movies. All right, that's right. It is another episode of Weekend at the Movies. I am one of your hosts, Optimus Solo. With me today is Movie Revolt Dan. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. And Fridley Sent. Matt Fridley, hello.
Hey there.
Matt, how has your week been going?
Well, I've been battling various illnesses, so that wasn't fun. But I haven't missed any work, so I guess it's okay enough.
So you've just been spreading the illness?
Yeah, especially because I touch over 50% of the things that come through the building.
Nice. You're just improving everybody's immune system.
Yeah, that's what I tell them.
Dan, how about you? How's your week been going?
It's been a kind of a crazy week. I had to, unfortunately, I missed out on seeing a movie because my wife got a flat tire earlier this week. She hit a pothole so hard she actually bent the wheel of her car. So I spent one day I was hoping to see Chappie and actually in the mechanic, which was kind of not very fun. And I missed it before because of snow, and then it did not work out very well.
Not meant to be.
No, it's just not meant to see Chappie, which kind of stinks because I was looking forward to it. But I know, even despite the reaction that's out there, but unfortunately because of craziness, I wasn't able to see it.
How are you keeping track of how many flat tires you've had in the last whatever period of time it's been?
I've had two in the last. Well, technically, I've had one, and my wife's had one in the last month, basically. And the last time since then, I don't think I've had one in a little bit. Maybe in my life, I probably had a good 6 or so, either friends or myself. One time I had to change some random lady's tire at work just because she was like, does anyone know how to change a tire? And I'm like, yeah, I do. So
unfortunately, you're like, I've done it a bunch. You've done it 6 more times than I have in my life.
Oh,
wow.
So I'm knocking on fake wood. I don't know if it's fake wood or not, but I'm knocking on it anyways because that's the second time I've had to tell that story today because I don't know. I was at lunch with my mom and my girlfriend, and for some reason that came up. So I'm bound to have a flat tire tomorrow. So.
They're really easy to change. It's just it's a pain just to go through everything and whatnot. So
I just bought a new car, and it has no spare tire. It's it's got special tires, and then there's a can of Fix-A-Flat. So, it's my biggest fear right now to get a flat tire. And, when I was buying it, the dealer was like, no, I assure you, it's really big in Europe. They don't have spare tires.
It's really big in Europe. You know, it's shady when it's like, yeah, it's big in Europe, and Estonia, maybe,
Right. That doesn't narrow it down too much. My week's been okay. The seasons have apparently changed with the time change. We got to lose that hour of sleep a week ago or half a week ago or whatever, and apparently that meant winter was temporarily over because we're seeing temperatures in the 50s and 60s right now.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of snow has melted, and the only reason I bring that up is because as soon as we get that first week of warm weather, my job slows down and goes to a screeching halt because everyone just freaks out about the warm weather, and it has an impact. So work has been somewhat slow for the first time in about 5 months. And also a weird thing at work, my assistant manager requested Saturday and Sunday off, so I have to work Saturday and Sunday. But the interesting thing about that is it ended up with me having Thursday and Friday off, and I never get a Friday off, and I very rarely these days get 2 days off in a row. So today's day 1 of 2 that I actually have off. So trying to enjoy that, and got absolutely nothing done today. So nice. That's how I'll spend the first day off, and I'll try to be productive on the second. Other than that, I was able to get to the movie theater to see Chappie, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. That was the only trip to the theater this week. Might be 2 trips next week if I can somehow wrangle it into working. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to attempt because there's 2 films coming out that one my girlfriend really wants to see, and one I really want to see. So, all right. So, like we do every week, we're going to get into the box office real quick. And goodness gracious, maybe a factor of the weather around the country in some places too. But that was a slow week at the box office for sure. You know, a lot of weeks we have the number one movie coming in with 30, 40, 25 million or something like that. That was not the case this week. Chappie takes the number one spot with a whopping 13 million.
Yeah, it did not make the $100 million I needed to make to get points for the fantasy league. It was off by a good $73 million. So,
but it did make about a third of its budget, I want to say. I'm not going to try to do the exact math, but it's close to a third of its budget, so you should be hopefully all right in that category. Focus was number one last week. It dropped to number two this week with 10 million. The second best, Exotic Marigold Hotel. I'm somewhat surprised, but opening in at the number 3 spot with just north of 8 million. Kingsman: The Secret Service finally dropped from the 2 spot, went from 2 to 4, brought in 8 million, which brings it just teetering on the edge of 100 million. So those people with Colin Firth, I don't know if anybody else in that movie is on a
Mark Hamill?
fantasy. Oh, yep, Mark Hamill and Colin Firth. So they are just about to get some points when that movie makes $2 million more. And SpongeBob drops from 3 to 5. So it's just south of the 150 million mark. Who knew that at this point in the year it would be number 2 for the year, just behind 50 Shades of Grey, which continues to plummet. I think it's just hopefully about done making money. So even though it did make a bunch of money that opening weekend, it's probably not going to be in the top 10 after the year's over, because it's sitting at 156, and I don't think it's going to make. I would doubt it would make it to 175 or 180. That might be its max. So it's probably not going to be in the top 10 for the year, even though it's number 1 for the year right now. And then the other opener, I don't think any of us would have predicted this, but Unfinished Business opens at 10th on the list. Did not make $5 million. Now, we usually talk about this when we do our box office prediction, that comedies sometimes make money pretty easily, and they especially usually make their budget back because they usually have pretty small budgets. But Unfinished Business opens with $4 million, and its budget was 35. So even if it did exactly what it did this week, it's going to take quite a few weeks for it to make its budget back. So it might be one of the first major bombs as far as comedies go for the year. But not a real great year for comedy so far. I mean, Hot Tub Time Machine only had a budget of $14 million, and it hasn't made that yet.
Yeah, I mean, the Unfinished Business only made $3,000 more than American Sniper last weekend. So.
Which, by the way, I guess we should mention, American Sniper took over the number 1 spot for 2014.
Which is insane.
So, yeah, it's at $337 million, so it passed both the Hunger Games and Guardians of the Galaxy to take the number 1 spot here in recent weeks. So I guess that's the number 1 grossing film of 2014, and I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that nobody on the planet predicted that.
No, I mean, if you did, you're a very smart person, but I think that, yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, rounding off the top 10 would have been 50 Shades of Grey, McFarland USA, which is getting rave reviews, The Lazarus Effect, which is getting the opposite of rave reviews, The Duff, and then, like I mentioned, Unfinished Business. So looking ahead to next week, is there any doubt as to what will be number 1, Dan?
Oh, no, because Cinderella opens up next week, right?
Right,
yeah,
yep, opens up tomorrow.
It'll crush it. And
I say that because I'm an idiot and I don't realize when the show is going to actually be released. So it has opened up as you're listening to this.
Someone might be watching it as we, maybe it's
true
as they listen to us. So
yeah, the early birds could be watching it currently right now. But I would say that's a pretty safe bet to be number 1, just number 1 based on the content, and number 2, it's getting a lot of good buzz around it as far as reviews and different things like that. So. So even though those that are more skeptical might be willing to give it a shot based on the word of mouth so far. Any other comments about the box office, guys?
I got nothing.
No.
All right. Well, let's get into our news then. Let's start eeny, meeny, miny, mo with Matt. What is your first news story for today?
The first one I'm going to bring up is Liam Neeson saying he's getting too old for action movies.
Stealing the words right out of Bruce Willis's mouth.
Which he started doing when he was like 55.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like The Rock, who started, first with action movies, or all the if you think of like the classic action stars, like they all started fairly young. I don't know if we can come up with another action star that started as old as Liam Neeson.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, usually it's the other way around. You do your action or just like your random movies at the beginning to get your name out there, and then like later on in your career, if you have a long career, that's when you're like, oh, I want to do important or impactful or meaningful movies. But Liam Neeson already did all that, so apparently he wanted to do the action and the verse and now go back to meaningful movies after this. I don't know, Dan, what do you think? Is he really done with action films, or when the next contract flies at his door, is he going to cave in?
Well, I think maybe he could be done, because we didn't talk about it, but like Run All Night comes out this weekend. It doesn't seem like that's getting positive reviews. They're going to do really well. So it feels like the novelty a little bit is wearing off. I don't think he is as big at the box office as he once was, and maybe the fact that those some of those contracts for the movies aren't as strong as they would be, and the fact that he's not getting paid a lot and the movies aren't that good, maybe he's kind of just taking a step back, which I think is good. I think I love Taken. I really love The Gray as well, but I don't know. To me, I want to see him kind of do some other things. I do like him as an action star, but I just feel like he's been making the same movie over and over again.
So if he's offered something in the next Expendables, would you be upset if he turned it down?
I wouldn't be upset. I'd be more upset that they're making another Expendables.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's not hurting for money unless he's the worst money manager on the planet, like most athletes or something like that.
Or Nicholas
Hammer.
Yeah, there are those that don't manage their money well, but I mean, he has made a bunch of money. Whether what he's done with it, who knows? But Taken alone made him a bunch of money, and obviously that's what got him a lot of contracts flying at him. Everybody wanted to cast him in different action roles, and I can't really fault him for taking his his chances with some of them. Some of them obviously recently haven't worked out as well, but I have no fault with him trying to kind of shake that off and get into some other genres. Obviously, he's not just an action star. He's a pretty darn good actor on top of that. So he's proven that in his early career for sure. So I'm looking forward to seeing what else he does, because I like him as an actor, and I'd like to see him get away from the action a little bit.
Maybe he'll do a Star Wars spot where he's a ghost.
He's like, I need a little bit of money.
He'll get his own Star Wars spinoff. That'll be like Ghost Dad, but with Liam Neeson.
Oh, man. I'd watch that.
Don't say that. It'll be made. All right. Dan, what do you got for your first news story?
Well, my first news story is regarding Channing Tatum and the fact that it is rumored that he will be the starring or part of a possible Ghostbusters 3 or another Ghostbusters movie, which will be all male. We know that there would be that all-female remake or reboot, I don't even know what they're calling it, sequel with Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig. Well, apparently they're going to be making maybe even another Ghostbusters movie because Dan Aykroyd can't get enough Ghostbusters. I don't know. But it'll be starring Channing Tatum, possibly Chris Pratt, and a few other people have been rumored.
Okay, before we try to sort this out here, obviously we've had the rumors drop a little bit ago about, like you said, the whole female cast one, and now it's not that this one is not connected. This is not like what we've had recently when there's 2 Hercules movies or, 2 Steve Jobs movies in the works or whatever it was, 2, Jungle Book or Peter Pan or something that's coming up. This is all supposed to be a connected effort. And they're not just talking about doing 2 films. They're talking about doing TV stuff. They're talking about putting like a toy line out. They're trying to make this like a complete. I think they even talked about TV. I don't know if that would have been in the form of like an animated series or a live action series or what. But they're trying to create an all-out Ghostbusters like franchise / universe that all of these are connected to. So I guess the reaction or the question I would have for you guys is what do you think are the chances of something like that working out in this whole, obviously ghostly, supernatural type hunters, fighters? Is there an audience for like the whole gamut that they're going to be trying to throw at us here with this Ghostbusters franchise?
I don't know. I know there are people out there that watch Ghostbusters, the original movie, at least once a year. So there's still very hardcore fans that are right there for it. Whether or not it's going, putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, is going to be a good idea, I don't know. I know I've seen interviews with Aykroyd or whatever. I'm bad with names. And he I heard one interview where he's like, yeah, so we're doing this all-female Ghostbusters. I've been trying to get a Ghostbusters 3 going, but we're doing this all-female one. It's going to be a reboot, but hopefully that'll help launch Ghostbusters 3. So it's like, I don't even know if he knows what he's doing at this point.
Hey.
He just wants to make as much Ghostbusters as possible.
Yeah, it seems like he's definitely wanting to do as much as possible, and in the effort that they're doing here to try to create an entire franchise or an entire Ghostbusters universe, like I said, with 2 different movies, with possible TV stuff, with toy stuff, with whatever else they're going to be trying to throw at us. I guess the other question would be: Are they going about it in the right order? Is it wise to put the all-female Ghostbusters out there first before this one? And I don't know, Dan, do you think trying to do 2 movies, possible TV stuff, whether live action or animated, is it all going to be too much, or is this somehow going to work in this whole huge universe they're trying to create?
I feel like it's just going to be way too much. It just seems, I don't know, it feels like they're forcing the issue a little bit too soon. Like, let's see how maybe the all-female cast works, and then maybe bring in additional characters or something like that. I don't know. It feels like people just want to create that franchise or create that world immediately. I'm thinking of something like Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, which tried to create the cinematic universe in 2 movies, and it was just a little bit of a mess. So that'd be my worry. I mean, it needs to be separate films, but it just seems, I don't know. I think you're just running that well dry.
And they even have a new production company called Ghost Corps, which is set. It's a quote from the article here: "Is set to oversee other films, TV, and merchandise spun from the idea of hunting down wayward spooks."
Sounds like one of those shows on Sci-Fi where they hunt ghosts or something like that.
Also, we didn't mention it, but the name's also being tossed around. Iron Man 3 writer Drew Pearce, the Russo brothers. Obviously, most people know them from the Captain America franchise. Of course, still Dan Aykroyd and Ivan Reitman. And like you said, Channing Tatum. So, I mean, there's a lot of big names being thrown at this. And a tweet from Drew Pearce, the writer: "Don't worry, the tone we're aiming for is pretty, quote, human-centric, period, except for all the ghosts." So, I don't know. I guess that's kind of a clever tweet. But, I don't know. I don't know if there is a audience for this. I know a lot of people have wanted another Ghostbusters movie. I didn't hear anybody yearning for a Ghostbusters world.
Yeah, I mean, plus if Bill Murray's not part of it, do we really want it? I mean,
right. I don't know. It's interesting, I guess. I'll believe it all when it happens, and we'll see what happens with this female version first, I guess. I don't know if that tanks, if Ghost Corps folds, and I don't know. I can't believe they named a production company that to oversee all of this, but I guess there's nothing wrong with taking some risks and taking some chances, but those are not. That's not the basket I would put all my eggs in, I don't think.
Well, I don't know if he's got anything else going for him.
Yeah, I haven't heard his name connected to a whole bunch of other things, so maybe it's just a fun venture for him at this point, and he's got nothing to lose, I guess. For my first news story, both mine are going to be very similar. I'm talking about some new films that are coming out that we haven't had a lot of we haven't had a lot of information on or a chance to talk about them, so I just wanted to kind of get your guys' take. We did mention this first one once a long time ago on one of the episodes, but Guy Ritchie is doing a medieval saga called Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur. I guess that's the actual title. We knew he was doing something related to King Arthur, but there's some information coming as far as the synopsis going. I'm going to read this quote from him. The bold new story introduces a streetwise young Arthur who runs the back alleys of Londonium. Sorry.
What?
Who runs the back alleys of Londonium with his gang, unaware of the life he was born for until he grasps a hold of the sword Excalibur, and with it, his future. I got to keep reading because this is just fun. Instantly challenged by the power of Excalibur, Arthur is forced to make some hard choices. Throwing in with the resistance and a mysterious young woman named Guinevere, he must learn to master the sword, face down his demons, and unite the people to defeat the tyrant Vortigern, who stole his crown and murdered his parents and become king. Besides that ridiculous plot synopsis, he's calling it a sweeping fantasy action adventure. We have Charlie Hunnam starring as the title star there, the knight. We have Astrid, I'm going to say this name wrong, Astrid Burgess Frisbee will co-star as Guinevere. I have not seen her in a lot of things. She's been in some stuff, like she was in Pirates of the Caribbean, one of them, but I think she was just a young girl at that point. so I don't remember her character. And Vortigern, I have no idea if I'm saying that right, the tyrant, will be played by Jude Law. And rounding out the cast as Arthur's father is Eric Bana, with Diamond Hansu playing a Merlin-like figure. That's the most intriguing part for me. I don't know. I like Guy Ritchie. He did great with the Sherlock Holmes films. I think a lot of people like Snatch and what's the other one? He did Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I can't remember what the other one he did early on, but I know he did Snatch. So I like Guy Ritchie. I like Hansu. I don't know. What do you think, Dan? Does that sound ridiculous? Londonium?
I will say that the synopsis does not bode well. Is this supposed to take during present time, or is this actually in the? Because the Streetwise thing almost makes me think it's supposed to be like a today version of it or something like that. I do kind of like the cast, though. I mean, Charlie Hunnam, I know he wasn't great in Pacific Rim, but I like him a lot in Sons of Anarchy, and I do like Jude Law playing a villain. I think he's been doing a lot of cool things recently. And
who doesn't like the idea of Jamin Hansu doing a Merlin-like character?
Yeah. And I remember when we first brought this up, like they already greenlit like 5 movies or something like that, or it was a crazy amount. I don't know if that's still the case, but I don't know. Like we remember last episode we were talking about lack of fantasy films, so if this gives us more good fantasy, and I do like Guy Ritchie as a director, I'm all for it.
And it's set to open a little over a year from now, July of 2016. Matt, you like fantasy. Is this something up your alley, or is this something that seems silly to you?
I don't know, man. Londonium? That's why even bother? Do we all know it's London? And like,
that makes it sound like a future London, doesn't it? I'm with Dan. Is this going to take place in the past or the future?
It's like you got a gang of thieves in Londonium, and then he finds a sword in a garbage can, and now he's like, I'm king! Is
that an element on the periodic table?
It might be.
Can someone confirm or deny that? Because I know like Americanium or something is on there. I swear Londonium I've seen before. I think it's on the periodic table of elements. But yeah, I don't know. I love the idea of King Arthur, and like you said, I like the cast. I like the idea of a fantasy film, so I'm hoping it's all right because I like Guy Ritchie, but I don't know. That synopsis has me worried. So going back to you then, Matt, what is your next story?
My next story is about Star Wars. Some of the first news we've actually gotten about the spinoff, the first spinoff movie, which is that they're going to title it Rogue One. Which, if you've read the books, which I know don't exist anymore or whatever, it was leader of Rogue Squadron, the elite starfighters of the Rebel Alliance. But even in the movies, Luke was Rogue One in Empire, and Wedge takes over in Return of the Jedi. So it's got some of that. But we don't have much. We got a director, we got a couple of actors. It could be in the past, could be in the future. Either way, I'm interested. They've attached, what's her name?
Felicity Jones
as the first actress they're going to get, which it would be interesting, because I don't think there's any female starfighters in the movies.
No, I don't recall any.
And there are very few even in the books. And so I'm excited, because that's a great thing. And maybe it'll be Ciala Antilles, Wedge's daughter, which would be great, because you could have that throwback to the past. I don't know. I'm super excited.
That'd be cool. I'd be down for that for sure, and I appreciate you bringing this news story up, because it does fill the quota here on Weekend at the Movies of talking about Star Wars at least one time. So we've done that. I don't know. I'm thrown off a little bit by the title. I like the title. I like the potential synopsis that or kind of setting that you just presented there with Wedge's offspring. The original rumors about the first spinoff was that it was going to be about Boba Fett and a kind of a group of bounty hunters in some type of adventure. And to me, titling the film Rogue One says that that's not the direction they're going for. I don't know how that title would go or kind of coexist with a story about Boba Fett, so maybe we're going a different direction. But it's Star Wars, so hey, I'm all in until they do something bad. Oh wait, they already did that. I don't know, so I guess it doesn't matter for me. They can do bad stuff, they can do good stuff. I'm still going to be excited. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could still kind of involve Boba Fett. Maybe it's like Rogue One is they're going after Boba Fett and his group, and maybe they're playing on the idea of rogue, because you can consider Boba Fett a rogue too. I don't know.
Makes sense.
But, I mean, this is going to be directed by Gareth Edwards, who last did Godzilla. So, a little hesitant there. And I almost thought they would do something more kind of, I don't know, like, knowing a guy, coming from the guy who does Godzilla and Monsters, that would be something along those lines. So, a little bit surprised there. But I do love good space battles, like good, combat, flight combat, some of my favorite parts of the Star Wars film. So, if a movie's all that, and it could be pretty cool. I just, and I love Felicity Jones, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there for a space battle and all-out kind of dogfight in space. So that would be very cool to see, especially with our current technology and visual effects prowess that has been displayed in some other films. So I'd be all for that. I'm just interested to see what direction they're going to go with the spin-offs, how much they're going to relate to the other films, or if they're not going to relate at all. What characters we're going to focus on. I'm assuming they've tried to get away from including Harrison Ford in anything, just to be safe.
Too soon. No.
Too soon. Did you guys hear, though, that Carrie Fisher also got hurt?
No,
really?
Because that's not as big a news somehow.
Yeah,
really?
she even labeled it like a Star Wars curse, and she in like a little soundbite or whatever, she even said that Mark Hamill should probably watch out since things usually happen in threes. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened to her, but she got hurt like the exact same week that Harrison Ford got hurt. So
she walked into a door or something.
That would not surprise me.
Car accident.
What happened?
It was a car accident just days before Harrison Ford crashed his plane.
Oh, wow.
So don't get into any vehicles if you're involved in any of the Star Wars movies is the thing there. Geez, I hope they got all the filming that they needed out of those people for good. Dan, what do you have for your next story?
Well, with Cinderella opening this weekend, it seems fitting that there's news that another classic Disney film will be adapted for live action, and that is Dumbo, and probably more probably the bigger element of the story is the person who'll be doing it, and that, of course, is Tim Burton, who brought the world Alice in Wonderland. So that has me worried because Tim Burton hasn't really done anything good. Though I did like Frankenweenie. That was at least a decent little film. But yeah, that has me a little hesitant. I think Dumbo is one of my favorite Disney films. It's like the perfectly made movie. It's only like 63 minutes. But I think it's really like smartly done, and so I wonder if it would fit for live action because it's definitely animals and how that's going to work. But I don't know. I'm a little worried if this is actually going to seem like fitting Tim Burton's style because it doesn't seem to me like a movie that Tim Burton would make. But maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, if you were to like list Disney films that you think Tim Burton would be suitable for, if that's not an oxymoron. Obviously, Alice in Wonderland is the first thing that comes to your mind, and that's what he's done, and he's doing a sequel to that. But I don't think I'd get to Dumbo very quickly if I was listing things. I'd probably get, I don't know, like a Pinocchio or something, or
even like Beauty and the Beast I could see, because, there's like a horror element in that, but yeah.
I don't know what was more shocking to me, the live-action part or the Tim Burton part. So
I know. This is coming out like the same time where Ringling Brothers isn't doing elephants anymore, but now we're going to do a live-action Dumbo. Although I'm certain it'll be all CGI. So
I just don't know which one's more scary, Tim Burton or live-action. So I don't know. This whole article scares me a lot. I'm not as I didn't have as big of a personal connection or memories on Dumbo as you might have had. I'm not saying I'm not disagreeing with your take on its quality or its caliber there, but it wasn't one that personally I was like super invested in as a kid, so I wouldn't be as hurt if this was messed up, but it seems like there's a lot of potential to be messed up. Matt, what do you think? Can they pull off live action elephants in this scale with big ears that fly?
Oh.
And will Johnny Depp find a role?
Well, I mean, I'm sure Tim Burton has already talked to him about it.
Will he voice Dumbo?
Dumbo shouldn't have a voice, though, right?
No, Dumbo talks. Doesn't he say at least one line?
No, he doesn't say anything in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Dang. I think I got that one wrong on the movie quiz or whatever. Man, I don't know. I'm the worst person ever because I haven't seen like 70% of Disney movies, including Dumbo.
That surprises me with your girlfriend.
Yeah, no shit. It's a point of contention.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. She busts my balls for it all the time. It's not like I have a thing against it. It's a weird thing that just didn't happen in my childhood, I guess. I also didn't see Indiana Jones until I was in my 20s, which is another weird thing. So I don't know. Like, I'm not excited at all, but I don't know. I don't think Tim Burton's as bad as everyone thinks he is. I like a lot of the movies he's done. He's had a few crappy ones recently, but maybe Dumbo will be the one that saves his career.
That would be a feat in and of itself, and I would give him more respect for that if he turned things around with Dumbo. Another thing I would never have thought I would have said. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. For my other news story, again, a lot of people probably would not be as excited about this one as I am, but this one has me somewhat excited. And that is the story of Newton Knight. But I don't know what the actual, I guess the name is going to be The Free State of Jones of the film. Directed by Gary Ross. I know a lot of people might not recognize that name. He is both a writer and a director. I didn't know this, but he was actually one of the writers. There was 2 writers credited for the movie Big back in 1988, and he is one of them. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if he was the main one or not. He also did Seabiscuit as a writer, Pleasantville, Mr. Baseball, and helped with the screenplay of The Hunger Games and wrote the animated film The Tale of Despero. And he is doing a film, apparently, about this Civil War story starring, or based around the person Newton Knight. For those of you that don't know, he was a Confederate soldier who led a band of deserters against the Confederacy during the height of the Civil War. And apparently they attempted to try to form their own state, the Free State of Jones, near Jones County, Mississippi. But it's kind of about this person's life, and another reason why I'm interested, besides it being Civil War, and that's one of my favorite periods in history, is that Matthew McConaughey is going to star as Newton Knight, a man who married a former slave. I'm not going to say this name right either, but I'm not even going to try. The main star in Beyond the Lights, and she was also in the movie Belle. If you've ever seen the cover for the movie Belle, that's this individual. Dan, do you know how to say her name?
I do not.
Okay. I was going to try, but I just feel like I would butcher it so bad that it's going to be terrible. But so Matthew McConaughey is the person he is portraying, married this former slave, helped form a mixed race community in the era of Reconstruction. So other names attached to it are Kerry Russell, who a lot of people probably know from The Americans currently, or for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And this guy's had his name changed. Currently it's Mahershala Ali from House of Cards. I don't know. I love this time of history, and right now I would see anything that Matthew McConaughey is in, so the idea of this intrigues me. It's set to release a year from now, in March of 2016. Dan, what do you think? Anything worth getting excited for? Or?
I think the story itself is pretty interesting. It's kind of, when I saw this, the first thought that kind of came in my head was like 12 Years a Slave, where it's like that story you're surprised hasn't been made into a movie yet, because it's like so crazy that it's true, and it seems like it's right for a good movie. The director doesn't instill a great deal of confidence. I mean, I did like Pleasantville. Seabiscuit was, good too, but he hasn't really done a great deal in a while. And Mr. Baseball it's a fine film, but I don't know. Like, you feel like this has a potential of being like an Oscar-worthy type of movie, but especially with McConaughey attached. But him as a director, I don't know if that'll happen. But maybe you never know. Sometimes you're the right person with the right material, and it can work out. But I'm definitely intrigued by it, mostly based upon the story itself.
The other thing that really got me was the image that's attached to the article, because I'm really buying Matthew McConaughey as a Confederate soldier in that getup.
Which I don't know if that's a good thing. Like, I can really see him being a Confederate soldier.
Well, I mean, he won't have any problems using his Texas accent, as Hyro has a big problem with. So maybe from True Romance, so maybe he'll cut him some slack on this. I don't know. I guess he's technically. It doesn't say necessarily where he's from. Obviously, at some point he's getting to Mississippi. I don't know if that's necessarily where he grew up, or if that's just where he ends up throughout the war. So I don't know. But Matt, what do you think? Do you like war movies or anything like that, or is this not in your ballpark?
I don't think I have anything against war movies. I just don't find myself going to them. I feel like this is like right up Nate's alley, to a point.
Yeah.
I bet he would have really liked something like this, but I mean, I don't know. Like, if someone were like, "Hey, you want to go see that Civil War movie?" I'd be like, "Okay." But
I'll drag you to it maybe in a year.
Maybe. You haven't contacted me about a single movie this whole year.
Oh, man. Calling me out. All right, we're going to a movie soon. But yeah, Civil War and Revolutionary War are two of my favorite periods in American history, just from the studies I've done through school and stuff like that. So I'm all about it. And it's been a while since we've had something. Dan, is my memory just failing me? It seems like it's been a while since we've had something to deal with the Civil War specifically.
I mean,
like as far as actual battles and stuff like that.
Oh, actual battles. Yeah, nothing's popping into my head actually of a Civil War film. You don't see them very often. It's usually not actually centered on the war.
So stuff that took place in that time period, but not necessarily about the war. And I'm not saying that this one will be. I don't know how much of the war this one will focus on or not, but because it does talk about Reconstruction a bit, which would be obviously afterwards.
Yeah, the ones that come to mind obviously are like Glory and Gettysburg, but besides that, there's not a great deal of a Civil War film, Civil War movies at least.
So it might be a good time for something like that to come out. Maybe people will be up for that. It's not something that people are going to be tired of compared to, a lot of the other stuff that's going to be available that they've seen.
Yeah, another World War II drama.
Right, exactly. I think that's it for our news. Some things that we didn't talk about, just to throw out there so people don't think we're idiots and didn't realize it happened. But obviously there was the news story about the Toy Story 4. That's not going to be a direct sequel, but instead it's going to be a romantic comedy.
I did not see that. That's great.
I don't even know how to react to that.
It could be good. I don't know. I mean, it's supposed to be with Ben and Barbie and Ken, right? That's
what the rumor was a long time ago. I don't know if that's what this is going to be then, if that's going to focus on that, or if we're going with Woody or Buzz and
Woody and Buzz romantic comedy.
Oh man, do it, Disney.
Dude, Disney. I didn't even mean to say it like that, but
I'd be that, or for Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head romantic comedy, that might be good. There's a lot of potential.
And I won't doubt anything that Disney or Pixar or whoever's going to be directly involved with this one's going to do. And then, of course, there will be, and this will excite some people, especially TFG1 Mike, apparently Tron 3 is happening. Was the last Tron technically Tron 2 then?
Yeah, it was, yeah. It was.
I haven't seen any of them, so I'm so in the dark on that.
Oh, man, Amy just bought Tron 1 at the store. We should go watch that.
I haven't seen any of them, so I can do that. And Tron 3 apparently is going to be shooting in Vancouver this fall, so Tron fans can be excited about that. As far as trailers go, the ones that were new this week were for films entitled No Escape, St. Laurent, Little Boy, The Forger. Tomorrowland had a second, I guess it's a first actual trailer. I guess the other one was considered a teaser. 5 Flights Up, a second trailer for Inside Out, and the first teaser for Hotel Transylvania 2. I didn't use any of these as my news story because the ones that I would use, I actually refrained from watching.
Yeah, me too.
I guess the way that I view trailers, and everybody has a different opinion. Some people will watch every trailer that's available for every movie, the first trailer, the second trailer, the teasers, and get as much information as they can. Some people will avoid 100% of trailers, like at all costs. My take is this, and I'm interested to hear what you guys say on how you view trailers, but my opinion is I will watch trailers until I'm interested in a film. So some films I'm interested in regardless. I don't need to see a teaser. I don't need to see a trailer. Like for Star Wars, I don't need to see anything about that film. I already know I'm interested. I can go watch it. I would rather not know as much as possible. And then there's other films that I don't know necessarily if I'm interested in. I'm kind of on the fence, so I will watch a trailer. And if that trailer interests me, I will watch nothing else about that film. So, I mean, that's kind of how I view it, is I watch trailers until I'm interested in, and then I kind of stop. And that's why I did not watch anything I didn't watch the new trailer for Tomorrowland or Inside Out because I'm already on board for those two films. I didn't watch the trailer for Hotel Transylvania 2 because I haven't seen the first movie, and I figured that would be out of order. So I did watch the other trailers, but nothing necessarily that I wanted to bring up. Dan, how do you view trailers?
When it comes to trailers, I used to be a person that would kind of watch them all and seek them out and go on IMDb every day and see what's new. But I've kind of changed, and I kind of pick and choose, honestly. For something like a Marvel movie, I tend to watch the trailers because I feel like they don't give away a great deal, or at least I feel like it'd be impossible to avoid them anyway. So why bother? But if it's a movie that I know I'm going to see just based upon the director and the fact that I like what they've done in the past, I tend to try to avoid them. Like Interstellar, I avoid it at all costs with as much as possible. So, if they come up in the theater and I'm there, I don't like walk out, but I like to go in blind as much as I can. If I see something's getting good praise, that's usually just enough motivation for me to see it and see if I'm going to like it. But I just feel like I like going in blind as much as possible anymore.
What about you, Matt?
I guess I don't put as much thought into it as you guys do, I guess. Like, if I'm at a theater, I'll watch any trailer, of course. I don't generally seek out trailers, although when we were watching them every week for M-Wire, I kind of enjoyed that. I've avoided every trailer for Avengers, and I probably will avoid every trailer for Marvel movie unless I'm really concerned. And I think I like that the best, is like if I'm interested in the movie, not seeing anything but ahead of time. But with like Star Wars, like I was there day one. I think I've watched the Star Wars trailer like 10 times because it's Star Wars, and I can't get enough Star Wars in my life.
Yeah, like I said, I find watching trailers fun, but I only want to watch them mainly about movies I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll spark some interest. Maybe it'll make me interested in watching that movie or seek it out compared to a movie that I'm just like, I don't know anything about it. So that's kind of where I view it as a more of a discovery tool. So if I've already discovered the movie, I already know about it, I don't necessarily need to see the trailer.
Makes sense.
So
sometimes it's good, like a deciding factor. If like, I don't know this one, you don't know anything about them, I might check the trailer out. But sometimes it's just good to go in knowing nothing, and just be surprised. But sometimes I find that even like having a trailer can benefit the watch, where it's like you kind of have a better idea of what a movie is going in to it, so you can start putting the pieces together and almost not have to play catch up at times, which can be beneficial.
Right. And I would probably enjoy trailers even more if there was like a class that everybody could go to on what you should do and what you shouldn't do in a trailer. I feel like for some reason the people that are in charge of comedies are absolutely the worst at putting together trailers. And you don't need to put your funniest jokes in the trailers. That's actually probably the worst thing you can do, and they all do it. Yeah. And then it's like you come out and you're like, oh, I laughed at the 3 things that I knew were going to happen, and it would have been a lot funnier if I would have saw it live.
Yeah.
So, and I will mention that I mentioned there was a quote-unquote new trailer for Little Boy. It's labeled as the first U.S. trailer. That trailer has existed for at least 6 months, hasn't it?
I have
that trailer, I swear we talked about it a long time ago. I don't know if it was a scheduled release that then got shelved, and now they're kind of bringing it back as to, hey, it's closer to when we're actually going to release it, so we're going to release this trailer and call it the first trailer again. But I saw that last year at some point, so it's not new. But the rest, you can go to the website, geekcastradio.com. There'll be links to all of those trailers, so you can click on them and watch them and check them out. Maybe you like watching all the trailers, so you'll watch the Tomorrowland and the Inside Out one. The one I got the most out of was 5 Flights Up. That seemed intriguing to me, but leave it up to you guys if you want to watch them or not. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with our main attraction, which is going to be an extended version of what we've been watching recently, and look at a couple 2015 films that we've seen. So we'll be right back after the break.
On the Simplistic Reviews podcast, we talk movies. We talk TV. We talk...
Hello, Julie, what the heck are you doing?
Trying to make our spots sound more exciting by adding explosions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could have got the point across with sound effects, not the real thing. Car.
Download the show on iTunes or at simplisticreviews.blogspot.com.
I'm sure your insurance company will cover that.
No, they won't.
No, they probably won't.
Hi, this is Greg.
This is Chuck.
And this is Dan. And we are Talking in Circles.
Because the world needs another podcast, we are here as Geekcast Radio's newest edition.
And as the title says, each week we get lost in conversation about a wide range of topics, including movies, comics, games, art, TV, and even occasionally sports.
We play games and discuss pivotal topics like who would win in a fight, the Kool-Aid Man or Tony the Tiger, and examine the hot-button issues of the world of geekdom.
We keep things fresh by taking timeless topics in new directions.
We are simply 3 friends having a fun time talking about life's most fascinating foibles.
Stay connected with us every Tuesday on iTunes or at geekcastradio.com.
All right, thanks for sticking with us. And like I said, we're going to have a little extended version of what we've been watching. We'll just kind of go around the table again, just like we did with the news, and we'll discuss each one. Some of them, I know there's at least one that multiple people have seen, so that one might go a little bit longer. But we'll start with Matt, and it doesn't have to be a 2015 film, Matt. But what is one of the films you saw this week?
One of the films I saw this week, and I actually posted to my Twitter, was the original Star Wars. And I mean the original Star Wars back before A New Hope ever existed as a concept, because it's the original 1977 theatrical release that doesn't have that in the scroll, doesn't say episode anything, doesn't say A New Hope. Just the first Star Wars.
Yes.
How'd you even get access to that? Because I know it's hard to even find.
They released them on a very limited edition DVD run, and it's actually just a copy of the early 90s Laserdisc version.
Oh, wow.
And those are the only two versions I know that exist of it in digital form. It was Laserdisc, and then in one run for DVD. And I'm, fingers crossed they put them on whatever Disney Blu-rays come out, because it's not even anamorphic. You have to adjust your screen to get, because it's got 4 black bars on it. But it's the original one. Han blasts Greedo without Greedo shooting him. It's great.
Nice.
And you liked it more or less than the last time you watched it?
I don't think you could like Star Wars more or less. I like it Star Wars amount. I don't know if it's ever really come up here. I'm very knowledgeable and very into comic books, but my Star Wars knowledge and fandom is so much, it just eclipses that. We haven't had a Star Wars movie come out yet, guys. It's gonna get ridiculous here.
It's I believe that's the only. I'm trying to think back. I think that's one of the only films I've lined up for on opening night, on multiple occasions. We back in when I was in high school, there was a Star Wars Trivial Pursuit that came out, and I remember in I think it was some type of advanced biology or whatever type of course, and it was either my junior or senior year, but the teacher was really relaxed, and basically we'd get our stuff at the beginning of the class period, and it was somewhat of an advanced class, and most of us would be done with time to spare. And my cousin was also in that class, and we were probably the 2 biggest Star Wars nerds in the whole school. And the teacher was pretty into it too, so we would have the 3 of us playing this Star Wars Trivial Pursuit at the end of every class. And there was multiple times where whoever went first won. And if anyone's familiar with Trivial Pursuit, that is not necessarily an easy thing, and it doesn't. That's not a quick thing. But you had to be careful because someone might just run the table and not get a single question wrong. I would not be as good today as I was then, but I'm with you, Matt. So how many times do you think you've seen Star Wars?
I don't know. I know it was a minimum once a year thing when I was a child. The last time I saw it was less than a year ago, when I first got these DVDs, which I'd been tracking them on the used market, and I was like, I don't really want to pay $40 a DVD. I got lucky. Some moron in our town sold them to the used DVD shop, and I got them for $12 a piece, which is insane. But yeah, so as soon as I got them, I went to a friend's house and we watched them all back to back. So I think I've seen just A New Hope 4 times in the last year. So I couldn't even guess how many times I've seen it in my life.
Dan, how about you? How many times have you seen Star Wars films?
From start to finish, it's tough. I probably, 25 or above would be assumption, if you count just catching them randomly on TV or, watching them whenever. I don't know. It's up there, but I would assume it would similarly be nearly once a year since I was, 6 years old or so. So
right. And something we've been slacking on. We haven't done much for grades recently on the show. So our scale on the website when we do our reviews is 5 stars. Matt, what would you give this out of 5 stars?
What, Star Wars?
Yeah.
5? I couldn't. I couldn't even make. Okay, so get this. When the Blu-rays came out, they had deleted scenes on them, and right. I hadn't seen those, and I've been like, I need to find someone who has the Blu-rays, or I need to buy the Blu-rays just for these deleted scenes. But it kind of fell out of my mind, a year or two ago. I accidentally caught just the A New Hope scenes on YouTube, and they're all out there now if you want to see them and you haven't somehow. And it was just like I was watching it like there's more Star Wars. Like, and I literally watched just the New Hope scenes, right, where there's more bigs and you get the Tashi Station scene, and I'm just like, it was mind blowing. I was 5 years old again, and like I actually haven't watched the Empire ones because I don't want to go through them too fast because I'll be out of Star Wars.
I gotta go buy the Blu-rays now. Damn it.
See, you don't, because they're on YouTube.
I still have to go buy them.
And you gotta wait because Disney might release a really good version.
All right, good point. I'll wait. Dan, what about you? What's a movie you watched this week?
I'll start with one that I think you saw, Kevin. And I'm actually going to start from worst to best, though. Worst might be a strong word. And I saw Focus, starring Margot Robbie and Will Smith.
Notice that you said Margot Robbie first.
Wasn't even. I went in alphabetical order. I will actually say though, I thought Will Smith. To me, this was Will Smith that I kind of became a fan of. It felt like Will Smith kind of got back to his old mojo a little bit with this movie. But overall, Focus is this movie I like, but think little of, in the sense that it's like kind of disposable in that way. It's kind of the word that comes to my mind after I was watching. I'm like, yeah, I liked it, but it was kind of disposable. It was like room temperature water. It's like it'll quench your thirst, but it's not something you ever crave or like seek out. Just like, yeah, if I had nothing else, I guess this will do the job. But I did like Margot Robbie and Will Smith together. I thought they had good chemistry when it came to like the protege-teacher relationship. Their like romantic relationship, not so much. I feel like if anything that took away from it. And for those that don't know, they basically play these two con artists that go through, and they start off in New Orleans during the Super Bowl. And one of my favorite scenes was the scene during the Super Bowl, and I thought that was a lot of fun. But I don't know. I think it never reached that again. And like I said, I feel like the relationship angle, anything, got in the way. And romantically, I don't think it was really that strong. I felt like it'd be a better movie without it. It got a lot in the way a lot. I mean, I thought a lot of the cons they did were interesting enough. It wasn't really breaking new ground. Wasn't really trying to. Considering the talent involved with someone like Margot Robbie and Will Smith, maybe would think it would be something better. But I don't know. I thought it was enjoyable enough. I didn't hate it. It was just kind of like worth the rental, but not something I would seek out.
I think what, for me, kind of one of the takeaways for me when watching this film is I was trying to think back to other films in this genre, other con movies, and I think it's a hard genre because you set everything up, and I think the journey is usually entertaining and usually interesting. But I think with any movie that's based on either a big con job or con artist or anything like that, it all depends on the payoff at the end for me. And if you miss that, the whole movie just seems to deflate a little bit for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest flaws for this film is that it does a good job of setting up, how slick they are and how, quick with their different cons are and witty or clever or whatever. But in a movie like that, you're always kind of anticipating something that's coming up, like it's all building towards something. And I think with that genre, maybe more than a lot of genres, it really is dependent on the final act and the finale of the film. Do you get that same type of feel when you watch a con movie, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't have that good payoff, it definitely hurts it a little bit. And I think that what the issue with the ending for Focus is that it telegraphs itself so much that when it happens, it's just like, oh, yeah, okay. And you like a great con usually has a really good, like, not trick ending, but like, oh, okay, like you've been conned the entire time, like almost like a meta thing element to it.
Right. Where
Focus was just kind of like, yeah, this is kind of we told you exactly what was going to happen in the beginning of the movie, which seems a little bit of a letdown.
And movies like that are also usually filled with lots of different twists, lots of different tricks or whatever. And something else that either makes or breaks the movie is how many of those are predictable and how many of those do catch you off guard, like you said, and actually con the audience that's watching them. Because when I think back at the most successful movies like that, I think of something like I would put like Usual Suspects in that group, even though it's not necessarily like the same type of con movie. It's something that, as an audience, the first time you're watching it, you are, for all intents and purposes, conned to a point where the ending does pay off. And a lot of people that I was listening to review this film also had a big feeling that it felt like two different movies. Did you get that impression where it feels like one movie up through the Super Bowl, and then everything that happens after that seems like out of left field in a different film altogether?
I didn't really feel that. It does feel like it ends after the Super Bowl. Like I could kind of see that, but tonally and everything else, it was a little bit different, but it didn't feel like two separate movies. It felt kind of cohesive enough for me. I didn't get that as much as everyone else was saying either. I can understand liking the first part better, and not liking the other part as much, but I still felt like it was the same thematic film. And you said is it a good sign for us that Will Smith and Margot Robbie, even though maybe like the romantic angle might not have worked as much, but that there was a decent amount of interaction and chemistry between them, seeing that they will be together again here coming up? I guess it's a good sign, though. I think their characters are going to be vastly different in Suicide Squad. But yeah, I think it's, at least they have some experience working together, and I love a lot of the little in jokes that they threw about Australia in the movie, because Margot Robbie's from there, which kind of seemed kind of random, but I think it's at least a good sign, because if they were awful together, then it would kind of not bode very well for Suicide Squad.
I did think some of the supporting cast was worth worth watching as well. There's some good characters that are involved on the outskirts of this film as well. And they did do a good job of balancing some lines there with making the jokes or making the humor somewhat crude, somewhat out there, but still handled with a way that didn't make it seem like that.
Yeah. It's interesting. I guess the one character, I forget who plays it, but he's I think he's called the Fat Persian or something like that. I think that's like one of his names, but that was originally supposed to be played by Artie Lang from Howard Stern, but he ended up turning it down. Which I think was a good thing, because I don't think him playing that part really well, but.
Yeah, I'm with you, though, on this one. I thought it was an enjoyable film. It's worth a watch. Like you said, if it's something that comes up on TV or something you're, Redboxing or Netflixing or whatever, I don't know if that's the proper way. Can I use those as that form of speech? Redboxing and Netflixing?
I use Netflixing.
Okay, so if you're doing that, I think it's fine. I don't necessarily think it was worth my theater money. But I'll just say that I maybe used my rewards for AMC for that, so maybe I didn't pay for it. But I think it's a fun watch. I had fun with it. I didn't think Will Smith was as bad as he's getting flack for. I thought he was somewhat charismatic, even if he did look a little worse for wear physically. Where would you grade this one if we're going on 5 stars?
I gave it 3 out of 5, which is passable, basically.
Yeah. I can see that. I did just do my first review of the year. I was waiting until I had seen 10 films for 2015 to do my first review, because as part of my review, for my own fun and entertainment, I'm doing a running top 10 list. I just want to put it out there for anybody that's looking at that's based on 10 films. So at the beginning of the year, it's going to seem a little ridiculous, and it'll get better as more films come out. So please don't look at that and see that I have The Seventh Son listed in my top 10 as anything bad. It's one of the 10 films I've seen. So I have Focus currently in my number 3 spot. So that's a sign of what's happened so far in 2015. But I'm right with you. I would give that one a 3 out of 5 as well. So agreement from both of us. What movie have I seen that I wanted to talk about? That is something I probably should be prepared about.
Chappie, maybe?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I just saw Chappie, which, again, was going to be one of the main themes, but some things prevented everybody from seeing it. And that is definitely a polarizing film. I will say that much. In listening to both the True Bromance podcast and the In Session film, those are the only 2 that I've listened to so far that have reviewed Chappie. Definitely a split panel. But since JD was on both shows and he was the one that was for it, I guess it's not as split. He was going against DJ Valentine and Brendan on In Session, who both hated it, and he was going up against Barry and Hyro on True Bromance, who both did not say as fond things about it as he did. So, but I've heard a little of everything, both in reading reviews and whatnot. It's not getting good scores on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's in the 20s or 30s or something. I haven't checked it recently, so it might have changed. But for those of you who don't know, Chappie's obviously the latest film from Neil Blomkamp, starring Sharlto Copley, Dev Patel, Hugh Jackman, I guess I can say Sigourney Weaver. but saying that they're starring her would be misleading. But it's all about this character named Chappie, who is clearly from the previews and from the posters. Most people will see that it's some type of robot, android, machine, AI type of character. I'm not going to give too much away because I know you guys haven't seen it, and I don't want to spoil too much. But people are familiar with Neil Blomkamp. He did District 9 and Elysium. Is it a coincidence on the poster for the movie poster for Chappie that it says from the director of District 9?
Yeah. And and maybe Elysium. So
yeah, it's not listed anywhere. I mean, District 9 is bigger type than most of the other things. So I don't know, but it just tells a story of this character. Obviously, we're in like a RoboCop type setting where machines have somewhat supplemented the police force in this society, which can only be seen as like a futuristic South Africa, I guess. I think it might actually even give a year and say South Africa. So I'd have to go back. Since I was in the theater, I wasn't taking notes this time, so I believe they might even put a date and a place there. But that's basically the setting for it, and basically, we're just following the character of Chappie in his creation and in his kind of upbringing / development over time. And that's about all I'm going to say because I don't want to really say too much to spoil things, like I said again. But it basically just follows that character. A lot of people have problems with the character of Hugh Jackman. I won't disagree that is a major problem to this whole film. He is awful in this film. I'm not saying he as an actor is awful, but the character and how it's written is awful. I don't know, man. I think there is some redeeming qualities to this film, though, and I think the main redeeming quality is the character of Chappie. I think he will go down as probably one of the more memorable characters of 2015, kind of projecting forward a little bit. Sharlto Copley does an amazing job with the voice, with the mannerisms, with whatever he was doing to bring that character to life, and you definitely empathize with the character of Chappie. So I think there is some interesting things to take away. There's also a lot of maybe not huge themes, but there is a lot of themes concerning, like you would expect in a movie like this, humans versus machines type thing, and how much trust or how much control do you want to give the machines versus humans. There is some themes about parenting and some themes about upbringing and that type of thing. So I think there's some good takeaways from this film, but there also are a lot of plot holes and errors and things that don't make any sense. So it's a flawed film, but it's still something that I enjoyed. I think I would probably, on a score, give it about the same as we did Focus. 3 is what I gave it on the review. I would say it's a pretty strong 3, though. I was real close to giving a half point and doing like a 3.5 or something like that. Also, just to point this out, it stars 2 people. I just have to say their names here. Ninja and Yolandi. And those are both the characters' names in the film as well as the actual people. His name is Ninja.
Nice.
And then it also, the third member of that gang is called America with a K. But that's not his actual name. So I don't know. I think I'd be really interested to see what you guys think about this film when you get a chance to see it. But yeah, 3 out of 5 for me. A real strong 3 out of 5 for me for Chappie. It's not, like Brendan in Sessions said, it's not the worst film he's ever seen. There's no way that's hyperbole at its absolute worst. 'Cause for me, if I'm saying something like it's the worst film of the year, which obviously we do that from time to time, the only way something can be the worst film of the year is if it absolutely has no redeeming qualities. If it's both awful from a plot standpoint, awful from a writing, awful from an acting, if there's just absolutely nothing redeeming about it, something like Kellen Lutz's Hercules last year, that you can say is the worst film of the year, or at least in the running. I don't think it was my worst film, but you could say that about something. Chappie, you can't call Chappie the worst film of the year. There's too many redeeming qualities about this, or at least discussion points. So I'm not going to go that far. So real strong 3 out of 5. Matt, I'll stop talking and let you talk. What was the second movie you watched this week?
Empire Strikes Back.
Nice.
the other original theatrical release. I wanted to watch this one first, honestly, but it's like I haven't seen Star Wars in like 3 or 4 months, so I should probably watch that one before. I don't know. There's nothing to say about it. It's Empire Strikes Back. It's in the running for best Star Wars movie of all time. Some people like Jedi more. Some people like A New Hope. But I like Empire. I just wish I were of the right age when it came out. Like, you know, when it came out in the 80s, like, it's like a terrible movie. Like, I mean, like, Han Solo's captured, Luke's been delimbed, and Vader's his father, apparently. It's just like, it's got to be one of the most miserable experiences, and you have like 3 years before another movie comes out. It's just,
yeah, they weren't to the point yet where they could do one every year.
Yeah, it's just like nuts. Like, I can't even imagine what that was like to be a kid at that time.
Yeah, that would have been. My brother was a kid at that time, and he saw them all in the theater. I should ask him what that was like. But I like everybody else that we talked to had to see it in reruns or VHS or whatever. So
I do have a quick question for. Is there a lot of difference between Empire Strikes Back, the theatrical, and then the updated version by Lucas? I mean, I know like all the changes from New Hope and Return, but I don't really hear much about the changes for Empire. Is there a bunch?
I actually don't know. There was actually one bit I was watching. I was like, "Whoa!" I would have thought that would have been a Lucas added. Like when they eject the trash and Han Solo, delatches. Like there's actually a cockpit scene with Boba Fett, and I didn't know that was in there. And I was like, "Oh, I didn't expect that." But like, yeah, I really don't know. I don't even know what's the differences in Jedi even.
Well, Jedi, I know it's like a lot of the ending. What's the different endings, like the different cities and stuff like that. And
oh yeah. They show
in
in all the cities.
Oh, is the song one in Empire 2 the additional songs from the band?
No, that was Jedi.
Jedi, okay.
And Jedi has all the other new Jabba the Hutt stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Wait,
okay.
I thought I only remember the.
Oh yeah, Jedi has Jedi has the additional band stuff for Jabba.
Yeah,
Jabba's,
Max Rebo and Sice Noodles.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Well, apparently we all need to revisit the different versions and get first stuff on that. We'll get corrected by people online, so that's okay. All right. And I assume that's a 5 out of 5 as well, Matt?
Oh, definitely. A 6 if we can get it.
All right. Dan, what do you got next?
The second film I want to get, another 2015 film. This is currently available on demand, and it is The Salvation, starring Mads Mikkelsen, Casper Van Dien, and Eva Green. And it's a classic. It's a classic like revenge western that we don't really get that much anymore. And I checked it out because I'm pretty much a fan of everything Mads Mikkelsen does. Since I first saw him, probably the first thing I saw him was in Casino Royale. For those that don't know, he plays the chief in that. He's the main villain. He's also Hannibal in the Hannibal show on NBC. Big fan of him from The Hunt from 2 years ago. That was quite a good movie, and Valhalla Rising as well. So I pretty much like everything he does. Like he kind of has like a look to him that can be both like foreboding but also like just with a few adjustments, a little bit sympathetic at the same time. And I think he uses both well for this role. He plays a Danish immigrant who travels to the United States due to a war in his country with Germany. He goes out west with his brother to get land, and we meet him, and the film starts when his son and wife have finally come out west to kind of live with him. And then a tragedy occurs, as happens with revenge westerns in the beginning of the film, and it kind of leads him down this downward spiral and in his life and those around him. And other people in the film, like Casper Van Dien, he is like kind of the black hat, the evil cowboy, as it would. He was good. I wish we got more of his character. Like he was good in the parts like he was in. Like we saw that he was feared by everyone around him, but I wish we got more. Like we kind of better understanding of who his character was. We don't get a lot there. Eva Green's a lot of fun. It's actually a world that she keeps her clothes on for, which is a little weird since she doesn't do that all the time anymore.
That's for sure.
I thought maybe I lost you. I didn't know if I lost you guys. I was like
No. That's definitely for sure.
Yeah. She plays. It's interesting though. She doesn't say a word in the movie because when she was her character when she was a child, her tongue was cut out, so she is unable to speak. But she does a really good job of displaying emotion just through facial expressions, and her character is actually probably one of the more interesting in the film. So it's a classic revenge western. It fills that trope really well. It's within that genre. It's not really doing anything brand new, but it just does it really effectively. The action's pretty well shot. It's actually well shot overall. They shot the film in South Africa, I believe, to kind of take place for the West, and it really gets that isolated feeling of the West really well, where it just feels like there's like no hope outside of these towns. You can understand why they'd be so corruptible, because just like they're so desolate, and just like almost just like a dryness throughout the atmosphere. But if you're in the lookout for good westerns, because they're a dime a dozen anymore, they're really hard to find, which is, I use the wrong metaphor. Dime a dozen means there's too many of them, but they're really hard to find. There's a few out there, Dead Man's Burden, which was pretty good, True Grit, of course, and Django Unchained, but I do like westerns. I do like seeing new westerns when they do come out, and you can get it. I wouldn't probably pay $6 for it, maybe just wait for it when it's on Netflix. Probably give it about a 3.5. A little bit better than Focus, but again, it's not going to go down as like a transcendent of the genre. It just kind of stays within it and does it well.
I feel like you, me, and JD were all sitting down in front of our TVs one day, like scrolling through on-demand stuff, and we all selected different films to watch. But I was definitely considering all the ones that you guys watched, because he just did an extra film podcast where they talked about Maps to the Stars.
Yeah. Which
is one of the ones I was considering. The Salvation was one of the ones I was considering. And then there was like two other ones. The one is called, I'm going to get it wrong now. It's starring Forrest Whitaker and, I want to say Anthony Hopkins. That might be wrong. But, a drama, and I'm not even going to remember the name. It starts with a T. It's like two men or two something. I don't know. That's terrible podcasting right there. But that was one of the ones I was considering, and the other one was Serena, starring Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence, and that's the one I ended up watching. And even though JD didn't give like a ringing endorsement of Maps to the Stars, and even though you only gave The Salvation a 3.5, I wish I would have watched either one of those.
I almost watched Serena myself, but I have not heard great things, so I would wait off and not pay the like $8 for it for on demand or whatever.
Yeah, my mistake. It's got Bradley Cooper, it's got Jennifer Lawrence. The setting is Depression era North Carolina. The future of George Pemberton's timber empire becomes complicated when he marries Serena, and the tagline is "Some loves can never let you go." Yeah. Also in this film was I always say his name wrong too, but Rhys Ifans, the guy who played the lizard in The Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay.
He plays a pretty interesting character. It might be the best part of the film, and it's written by or directed by somebody named Suzanne Bier, Bier, who is on IMDb, it says, is known for the films In a Better World, After the Wedding, and Brothers. Have you seen any of those, Dan?
In a Better World, I have. It's actually, I do like that movie. It's like a modern day Bicycle Thieves.
Gotcha. Well, I hadn't seen anything that's listed on her IMDb, so I really couldn't judge anything on it. But maybe she has better stuff, like you're saying. Maybe In a Better World and some of these things are worth checking out. But this movie so badly wanted to be There Will Be Blood. I feel like it wanted to be that film, and I'm not saying there's a lot necessarily to compare about them, other than they're like period pieces. They're kind of in the same type of a setting, so to speak. And obviously Daniel Day-Lewis is kind of the oil baron, so to speak, whereas Bradley Cooper here is playing like a timber baron, I guess you can call him. But basically, it's Bradley Cooper's character. He is in charge of this big timber empire. And, it's a dangerous business. It's, again, similar to There Will Be Blood. People are dying, during the work. Trees are falling on people, or just random accidents that could be occurring in this time. It's also a depression-like setting. And then he, meets Jennifer Lawrence, who at the time is like some type of horse rider. I don't know what she was technically doing, but she was riding a horse around in some type of competition. I don't know what the term for that is because I'm ignorant right now.
Jockey?
But it wasn't a jockey. It's not like she was racing them. It was one of those like almost like a show horse type thing where you just kind of gently run around in circles and occasionally jump over like a block.
Like the Olympics things where they make them dance?
Not quite that either.
Huh.
It's a great discussion on horses, though. But anyways, he's taken aback. No, not a carousel either. That might have been interesting, though. But he's taken aback by Jennifer Lawrence's character, and, of course, it's in the plot, so I'm not giving anything away. He marries her and brings her back to, his location of this timber empire, and, they're kind of running it together, so to speak. Meanwhile, the setting is that they're, the local law enforcement, as well as some very seemingly important people, are trying to basically get him to sell his land so that they can do whatever. I don't even remember. It wasn't that important, but so they can do something with his land. And so he's trying to fight that. So there's a little bit of back and forth between him and the officials of that area. And some people even within his own company or empire that, possibly flirting with the idea of selling him out, and because he has some hidden secrets that if they get out will ruin him, type of thing. But Jennifer Lawrence's character is absolutely batshit insane. This is possibly worse than marrying the chick from Gone Girl, when Ben Affleck did in that film. I think she would rival that level of mistake as far as marriage goes. But I don't know. I don't. This movie's bad. This movie is bad in all kinds of different ways. But if you loved There Will Be Blood, which I did, maybe you would find something out of here, but I didn't. As much as I just felt like it was trying to be that film, like trying to be the same mood, trying to be the same darkness, but with none of the coolness of There Will Be Blood, because there's no Daniel Day-Lewis and there's no cleverly written dialogue. Like, this movie needed someone to rewrite all the dialogue to make it more engaging, and then maybe it would have had a chance. But I can't give this one more than a 2 out of 5, so not a ringing endorsement from me for Serena here. But yes, Two Men in Town, Dan, is the name of the other one. That was the name of the other one. So I didn't mention it when I was doing my top 10 of 2015, what my little list was when we talked about Chappie, but I said Focus was at number 3. Chappie's currently actually at number 2 for me, with Kingsman being at number 1. Serena ranks in at number 6 right now. So that ringing endorsement, giving it 2 out of 5, lands at 6 out of my top 10. So that was it for me this week. Matt, we talked about the 2 that you had seen. Dan, I think you had one other one that you watched, though.
Yeah, I watched one other one. I'll be quick with this one. It's also available on demand, and it's What We Do in the Shadows, and it's a mockumentary directed by Jermaine Clement and Takia Wati. I'm probably saying that horribly wrong, but the Jermaine Clement, you probably have heard his name. Obviously, he's connected with Flight of the Conchords. And what's it about? It's a mockumentary about vampires, which sounds a little bit ridiculous, and it is, but in all the best ways possible. And I actually really ended up liking this a great deal. If you're a fan of the Flight of the Conchords, you'll probably really like the humor here. There's some broad humor here and there, but a lot of great subtle jokes, and a lot of the same characters and actors that you see in Flight of the Conchords do come in show up in What We Do in the Shadows. Some really great cameos, especially when the werewolves show up. That's a lot of fun, and I think it does a really good job of kind of poking fun of the vampire culture, but in a lot of obvious ways, but some interesting ways too. And it's kind of, they deal with some of the fish out of water stuff where you have these characters who are hundreds of years old and still kind of stuck in their own ways, but it doesn't kind of harping on that too much. But I don't know, it's a lot of fun. I'm a sucker for good mockumentaries. I do like that style. Like The Office is one of my favorite TV shows, and I think it does it well. And it almost feels like a modern day Spinal Tap. Not nearly as good as Spinal Tap, but at least it is able to find intriguing ways to approach the idea of what a vampire would be like in real life. So it's cool. It's fun, and there's actually for low budget films some really decent special effects too. So some really bad special effects, but it's fun. But I don't know. Have you seen it, Kevin?
No, I have not. But you had me at Jermaine Clement and Flight of the Conchords, so. Yeah. It's on my list now. Yeah. What kind of ranking would you give this?
I give it 4 out of 5, which is really liked it. And right now it's probably sitting of my favorite film of the year so far, out of the 6 that I've seen. So I don't know if that's a ringing endorsement, but I did like it a great deal.
Did you say it was available on Netflix or on demand?
It's available on demand currently. So.
Like,
right.
when they announced that it was hitting theaters, I checked the website. It wasn't coming anywhere near us, like more than an hour drive at least, which really bummed me out because I was super excited for it when I first saw the trailers last year. But I'm glad it's on demand. I might actually try to catch that one this weekend.
Matt, that might be something that we would that'd be fun to watch together as well.
We'll have to discuss that.
We will have to discuss that. All right, so I think that's it, right? I didn't leave any of you out with anything you saw this week?
Nope.
No, that's all I got.
Okay. Looking ahead to the weekend coming up, a couple things. Obviously, like we mentioned, Cinderella is playing as we speak, so that is something that you might want to be going to see if you're interested in that story. Also, like Dan mentioned when we were talking about Liam Neeson, the film Run All Night is also being released as we speak or as you're listening to this, whichever way you want to talk about that. Also, Home Sweet Hell, starring Katherine Heigl, Jim Belushi, Patrick Wilson. The tagline for that is "Psycho Wife, Unhappy Life."
Awesome.
Yeah. Cymbeline, starring Ethan Hawke, Ed Harris, Mila Jovovich, John Leguizamo, and Dakota Johnson. The Cobbler, which we talked about last week with Adam Sandler. Again, some of these are going straight to on demand or straight to DVD. There's also one called Walter. There's also one called It Follows, which, quote, is one of the most striking American horror films in years.
I've actually heard a lot of great things about It Follows, which I hopefully check out before next week.
All right. And like I said, Walter, which is starring a whole bunch of people that are looking for work. Nev Campbell, William H. Macy, and some other people. I believe it's a documentary called The Wrecking Crew. I think that's a documentary dealing with like the West Coast music scene. I don't know. It has Nat King Cole, Elvis, Frank Sinatra, Simon and Garfunkel, the Righteous Brothers, and a whole bunch of other people listed. So I believe it's some type of documentary. And I think that's pretty much it for films being released in the theater or going straight to on demand. As far as Blu-rays coming out, coming up this next Tuesday after the weekend's over, you have Penguins of Madagascar. You have Exodus, Gods and Kings. Dan, you lining up for that one?
Not so much. I do plan on watching it just because I feel like I have to watch all the Ridley Scott movies because I don't know. But I don't know. I'm not seeking it out. I've yet to see it. So.
Are you instead going to seek out Annie, the combo pack?
Oh, man. I'm going to wait for the special edition.
Okay. There is also, I should say, a combo pack of Penguins of Madagascar. Song of the Sea combo pack, which I have heard some good things about that. Son of a Gun, Ewan McGregor and Brendan Thwaites film, which is also currently on demand. Vice, starring Bruce Willis and Thomas Jane. And the last one coming out to DVD would be Chris Rock's Top 5, which was released late in the year last year. So that one I would say is worth a watch if you're not paying too much for it. I did enjoy that one. So those are the Blu-ray / DVD releases for this week. Does anybody have a question for the fans based on anything we talked about or anything that's coming up? Matt, you got anything?
I was wondering, and this might be an okay question if we haven't done it or similar enough before. We've got our first Star Wars spinoff. Like, what Star Wars story do you want to see? Like, that's
not a bad one. We got multiple spinoffs apparently coming up, and what other stories do you want to see? I know the ones that have been most rumored have been the Han Solo centric one, the Boba Fett one. So what other characters or groups or events do you want them to focus on?
Can I throw out my opinion that I'm kind of hoping that Rogue One isn't Boba Fett centric? Because, like, I feel like... so Boba Fett's, like, the coolest character in Star Wars, right? We can all say that. But, like, I like the idea of being like, well, we're not going to use him in the first movie because we don't have to. Like, I mean, it's like the opposite of what Warner Bros. Is doing with their movies, where they're just like, let's get all the good things right away. Like, I don't know, man. Hold back.
Yeah, I mean...
Hold back.
I'm fine with whatever they do, as long as it's good and it works. I don't care what order they give it to us, but I would like to eventually see a Boba Fett-centered film at some point. So maybe they could put that in their back pocket in case they need to ramp up anticipation again if something else doesn't go quite as well, like something directed by Gareth Edwards. So that's a great question. We also did get a bunch of feedback for our top 10 science fiction and fantasy films. I don't know if you guys had seen that on the website or not, But definitely appreciate those chiming in on it. A lot of people saying some good stuff, that they really like that episode and they're looking forward to the other lists. So that's great. And some people kind of throwing out their opinions on stuff that they saw on the list that they didn't expect. Or Matt, at least one person saying that their taste most closely lined up with yours.
As Jason Aaron.
I don't know.
No, I've got it open, but that was like right after, like maybe even the day of he put that in. So big props to that guy for liking what I like. So like there was this one time on Top Gear, they were talking about the greatest cars like in Europe, and like they all chose a different car, and then at the end of the thing they're like, wow, I can't believe we're all car guys, and we all forgot the Fiat. And I feel like that's how we all were with forgetting that fantasy is all over television right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did talk about that, how the TV seems to be the vehicle for fantasy right now, and maybe it's just because I don't watch any of them that I completely forgot about that, which I shouldn't, because I feel like my girlfriend watches every single one of them, which is not a bad thing, but there is a lot of fantasy on TV. I can't believe I didn't think about that either.
Yeah, I was sort of just in movie mode, I guess. I don't know, but that was a good point. So
Definitely a good point. I think other than that, that's about it for the show. Dan, I didn't know, I can edit this out if I'm completely wrong, but did you want to do that challenge thing on air, or is that something we're doing?
Oh, we can do it on air. I mean, it doesn't matter. I didn't have one for Matt, but I can come up with one real quick.
Well, I had one question for you, and what we're doing, guys, is so you're kind of keeping track and going along with us throughout the year. Obviously, we said we're doing a bunch more of these top 10 lists, different genres, animated, comic book, drama, action, comedy, and et cetera, and eventually getting to the point where we're watching our we're listing our top 50 films of the decade so far. And as part of that, Dan came up with a great idea, and we're going to be challenging each other to watch certain films in a given time, so that maybe they would have a chance of making our list, and there's stuff that we haven't seen up to this point. And I definitely want to take Dan up on that challenge, so Matt can be a part of it as well. But we're basically just throwing out movies that we know the other people haven't seen, and challenging them to watch them, hopefully within the given week. Hopefully most of the time that's possible. Dan, the question I had for you, obviously if we pick something out on Netflix, it's going to be pretty easy to watch and free. Are you opposed to me picking anything that's available via Redbox? Do you do Redbox at all?
I do Redbox.
Okay, because my issue is I went through your Letterboxd account, and I went through the last 5 years, and I came up with a list of about 20 films, and then I went to Netflix, and one of them was available. So I then went to Redbox to see if certain things were available. I even, as crazy and creepy and stalkerish as this seems, tried to look up Redboxes in your area. So even though I don't necessarily know where you live, I do know the general area. So hopefully some of these are available. So if you're not opposed to that.
Amazon too, so I mean Amazon's pretty easy. You can rent a movie for pretty cheap on Amazon if it's not brand new.
All right. Because otherwise I'm going to end up giving you crappy films that... Because you've seen so much on Netflix, darn it, you're a Netflix connoisseur. But I will let you go first. Then what's one of your movies that you're going to throw out as a challenge?
Well, I guess I can give this to both of you guys, because I think you both like animation and kind of like fantasy. And this is, I don't know if it's completely fantasy, but I don't know if you. I didn't check to see if you guys saw it, but I'm going to, hopefully it's a no. If it's not, I have a backup, and that's currently available on Netflix. It's really short. It's only like 80 minutes long, and it's The Secret of the Kells. Is The Secret of Kells?
I have not seen that.
It was nominated for an Oscar. Rotten Tomatoes listed as a 2010 film, but IMDb says 2009. But I'm considering it 2010, I guess, because that's when it was available. So it's like an Irish folktale basically, and I really like the animation. I actually just finished watching it today, and I'd be curious to hear what you guys thought of it. So.
Okay, absolutely. Secret of Kells. I've heard about it. I've looked at it multiple times, like the cover and stuff like that, but I have never actually watched it. So I will add that to the homework list for this week. Which brings me to the first thing that I'm going to throw out towards you, which is something that I believe is available on Redbox, if not, hopefully Amazon. I'm not going back too far for this one, 2013 film. Just because I'm interested to see your take on it, especially after the fact that it's been out for a while, and it's not necessarily in the whole Oscar moment type thing. But definitely would be August Osage County. Have you seen that yet?
I have not seen that yet.
Okay, so I would be interested to see what your take on that is. It's one that I kind of am on the fence about, so I'm still doing some thought in about that one and what kind of merits it has. Originally, it was in my top 10, I think, for that year, but times past, I've seen some other movies, so it's kind of on a borderline of some different list that I'm doing. So I'd be interested to see what your take on August Osage County is. I do have some animated ones on my list, but I'm going to save them for another week or two and hope that they become more widely available. So, all right. Matt, are you okay with watching Secret of the Kells this week?
I should be able to get that one. I think I can convince my girlfriend to watch it.
All right. So those are the challenges out for this week, and we'll see how that works for the first time. And if it works, hopefully that's something we can keep doing throughout the weeks here. Anything else from you guys before we close the show out?
That's all I got.
I'm out.
All right, so thanks as always for joining us here on Weekend at the Movies. Obviously, the best way to interact with us is go to geekcastradio.com. You'll find the episode post, and you can get involved in the conversation there. You usually get a bunch of comments there from some regular fans that we appreciate, so you can join that discussion. And you can also visit the Facebook page by searching Geekcast Radio Network, and TFG1 Mike will keep you up to date with everything that comes out, whether it be reviews or podcast episodes or whatever. You can follow the network at Twitter on Twitter at Geekcast Radio. Dan, what is your Twitter?
At Movie Revolts.
Mine is at Optimus Solo, and Matt, yours is?
At Fridley Sant.
All right, so follow all of us, and you can keep up with some conversations we have there as well. So that is it for us, and we will see you next weekend at the movies.